Success transcends cities. As one of the world's most respected business leaders, I know what it takes. Join me now as I sit down with fellow leaders and we share our insights into how you can be successful. My name is Jeffrey Hayzlett, and this is All Business. My guest today is a woman who wears many hats, literally and figuratively. Sandra Dee Robinson isn't your average Hollywood actor. She's a dynamo, a charisma coach, and a horse-powered leadership coach who's taking the world by storm. From the glitz and glam of the entertainment industry to the wild terrain of leadership development, Sandra Dee has conquered it all. Get ready to hear straight from the heart wisdom from Sandra Dee Robinson. Sandra, welcome to All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I'm so glad I'm here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is, and we have a lot of fun because we're going to be talking a little bit about a program that we've got coming up. But I want to delve in, first of all, to this whole charisma coach, okay?
Yeah.
When I was the chief marketing officer at Eastman Kodak and I went on to do Celebrity Apprentice and so much, they started calling me the celebrity CMO. All right?
Yeah.
Got the front page of Forbes and all the magazines. Now, you're called the charisma coach.
Yes.
Why?
Interestingly enough, I actually had my own journey to find what I call my powerful personal presence. Or, I think everybody has a powerful personal presence within them.
Well, especially actors or people that are seen in the media all the time, or leaders of any kind.
But there's a difference between hiding behind characters like I chose to do and actually stepping out and owning who you are, which is what you do so well. But for a lot of people, that they have things that they think they need to be. And so that became a problem when people had to get on video for their business. So in 2010, video was still new, if you can remember. That was an exotic new thing, and people were freaked out about it. So they hired me to come in and help them feel comfortable when they started doing their social media, doing video for their business. And that just sort of expanded into helping people, do the same thing from stage and do the same thing in interviews, and then eventually leading a team in person. If they take over a role where they are handling the responsibilities of a team and speaking to them, sometimes they also have in their mind that they think they need to be something that they're not really.
I love that, because what you're saying is you have to be really you.
Yes.
And that's the easiest part. Because as an actress, right, it's easy for you to hide behind a role because you don't have to be yourself.
I counted on that, because I was raised with some negative stuff about who I was.
Aren't we all, to some extent? We all have something that's that little voice in the back of our head, and eventually some of us just stop listening to it. I did a long time ago because I just want to be me. It's hard enough being me.
Well, that voice that we hear in the back of our head most of the time isn't our voice, and it's not God's voice. It's not it's not what you were created to be.
It's that evil mini-me. It's that evil mini-me.
It's usually like a bully, a mother, a father. It's somebody that meant a lot to you at one point, and it mattered to you when you were a child, and you just sort of carry that voice with you. So I'm the one that gets to disempower that voice for a lot of people and actually introduce them to what you said. It's simple, but simple can be deep.
And it's really tough. If it was simple, everybody would do it.
Yes.
So you need that coach to take you through. You need those lessons. How do you unplug that little voice?
First of all, realize that it's not yours. It's not about going back and reliving that moment where somebody said something to you that is holding you back. It's not about, it's not therapy in that sense. It's just going, that's not who I am. So you're not worthy. That's one of the most common things. For men and women, actually, that it comes down to, I'm not worthy of having this level of success. Yeah. And it can pop in at any level of success. Just all of a sudden there's a trigger and it goes off. And I'll say, so is that true? Repeat what they remember being said to them. They go, oh, no, that's not true. Mm-hmm. Let's say it again. No, it's not true.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you say it enough, something hits and you goes, well, what is true then? Why am I listening to this crap? It's like having the old record skip constantly, and it just takes you around in the same circle and the same level of success that you're at, and you just break out of that. It's almost like you finally take the exit ramp when you see the sign.
Yeah.
And the sign is, this is who you are. Yeah. Leave the.
And I want you to do that at a really high speed with great swagger. I love people.
Sliding to the side.
Exactly. Go and do it and be very proud. It's not bragging when it's true, right? So I want people to do that, and I'm so glad that you're teaching people that, because that's really true about leadership. I'm going to talk about how horses play into that in a minute, but I want to kind of cover your career a little bit. You've been on soap operas and movies. Did you ever envision when you first got started, I'm going to be that person that's up there on the big screen?
That's interesting that you asked that question that way, because I didn't think anything else.
Really? So many people ask me about the journey of like, oh, you're the successful business person and what you do and how you do it, celebrity,
Did you picture it?
I pictured I'd always do something big. I just didn't know what it was. And I was really good at it. And so I just kept doing it. But they said, did you plan it? I never planned it. And I'm sure you didn't really plan it. You just knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming, and I now realize it might have been a lot of naivete.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
It's okay being stupid, okay? It's all right.
Didn't know what I didn't know. So like I showed up at auditions like, all right, I'm here for my role. Like I really did show up. Like you would show up for an interview and go, okay, I'm here for my job. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it, and like the reality is they're seeing a lot of people for this role or for that job, but I literally walked in like, okay. And I think it was that determination of like, do you see that I'm perfect for this? And it was certainly not an ego thing because I didn't have experience at all when I started. I came up from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to New York City wearing white granny boots in New York City. So that tells you right there.
There you go. Those are hot now again. Those are hot again.
I hope so. Yeah, I thought they were really great. Yeah. But white in New York City, a clear indication that I was out of my element, But somehow it worked for me, and I continued to work. Thank goodness, because with the inhibitions that I had for a long time around showing up and being myself, being a waitress would have been torture for me. So I never really had to support myself doing anything other than acting. And so sometimes the paychecks were really great and consistent, and sometimes I was barely making the rent. But I was happy to do what I was really wanting to do at the time, and so it was great. And the only reason that I wanted to leave was at some point I realized that I couldn't handle somebody handing me a microphone and saying, "Be yourself."
Yeah.
There was a huge chasm between what people expected me to be when I showed up on a charity event stage, for instance, to raise money for kids. If you handed me a microphone, I couldn't do anything.
But when you talk about that, which I know you, and I know how much confidence you exude and who you are and the genuineness of you. No, but there's a core of that was there. But I also get the sense that when you say handing you the mic, I almost sense that you're frightened of that.
Oh, I was terrified of it. I was terrified. I mean, you might as well have had poison on that thing, and strychnine and handed it to me because I did not know what to do.
But yet you were like a star in all these soap operas. You got the movies.
But people told
ended up marrying a stuntman. The dream.
By that point, I had to the work on myself, and I had enough of my journey, and still continues to this day.
Now you're working on him? That's what you...
No. Well, he's doing his own journey, actually.
We all do.
I think just from a lot of it has to do with the work that I do with the horses. He's a part of that because by default, he's my safety manager on the farm, And sometimes he steps in and he goes through the journey and sees what happens with people, and it started to wake up some stuff for him too. And we're very strong in our faith, and I think that journey we're taking together. And so there's a lot of changes since we've been married, both of us, I think in a good way. But yeah, that's in short, how that was. When somebody would hand me a microphone, I'd be absolutely terrified. And when I realized that was going to be a problem for me for the rest of my life, kind of like people that come to me and say, I have to be able to speak in front of people. I have a conference coming up. I've never spoken. This could be something. I want to run away.
Yeah.
And when you want to run away, that's at times a great opportunity knocking on your door to actually take yourself from the inside out to the next level. That's the thrill for me, is to be able to have somebody that has never been on, an interview like this, have them come in and do like a national network interview. And as they walk off, the producer or the director says, wow, you must do this all the time. And it had been their first time.
Wow. I want to know how this Pittsburgh girl who went to New York wearing those white granny boots, whatever they really are, okay? Because I'm always wearing cowboy boots, so I can see white cowboy boots. How did you get to starting to work with horses, and how does horses play a part in leadership?
It was crazy. It was a crazy start, as you might guess. I was speaking at a conference, and it was one of those conferences for women in particular. I don't know if they do this all the time, but they had tons of booths, right? Where people were selling
they still
stuff.
Do that.
Yeah. So I think I'd spoken in the mornings, in the afternoon, I'm walking around looking at all the different booths, and there's a woman that has a sign up that just kind of attracted me to, and we start talking, and I said something about having horses, and she goes, oh, looks at me as if she's been told from above. She goes, you need to meet my friend Rhonda. And I went, okay. Before I knew it, I'm on a plane going to the middle of nowhere. It's not even on the map in like
Was that
Missouri.
South Dakota? No,
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay, there we go.
And I said to my husband, if I disappear, here's the longitude and latitude approximately of where you can go from me.
It's spoken like a real Easterner from Pittsburgh.
Didn't know where
All
I was
there
going.
we go.
Okay, so hey, Pittsburgh to me is Midwest. We'll argue about this later. Okay, Philadelphia is East. We're like anyway. So I end up going and I experience what this woman is doing, and it's wonderful. She's actually rehabbing young people that have been rescued from sex trafficking, and they're coming to her from all over the world. And part of her modality was working with horses.
Yeah.
And so I got to experience and learn from these girls what that meant for them. I mean, they're dealing with, everybody has trauma, right? Sometimes it's a big T, sometimes it's little t. These kids, they were all girls at the time.
Yeah.
These girls, big T.
Big T.
Big T.
Yeah, if you're going through that without
Some of them would show up unable to speak, and the horses, there was something about being around the horses that allowed them to be able to process a lot of the trauma, and they were able to go and have, normal, healthy relationships and understand what that meant, contribute to society and live fearlessly, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I walked away from there going, I don't know what this means, but it has something to do with me. I just don't know what. It was a good 2 years later before I realized that there was equine assisted coaching for people. It didn't have to be therapy. So I investigated bringing somebody in to my community and saying, hey, do you ladies in my community like this idea? They loved it. And believe it or not, at some point I said, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I think maybe I do want to learn how I can facilitate, because I saw things that current facilitator that I was using was missing in the communication from the horse.
So it's
because
really,
I grew up watching animals
Yeah.
since I was like 3 years old, trying to figure them out.
And I have horses, and
Yeah.
as I've learned with horses, they're very intuitive. I mean, you don't need reins. You can steer them with your knees. You can steer them with your voice. You can do a lot of different things. We'll get into that, which I know you're going to be talking about in the work that you're doing, especially with Trailblazers in our mastermind, which we're going to be doing together.
Yes.
And using horses to be able to help people with leadership and insights to get those huge breakthroughs, and which is big. So horses, to me, are like dolphins and elephants and certain animals that seem to have this intuitive kind of connection to humans. That they can tell you things and show you things, and they seem to react to people in different ways. Like I know I have horses that react differently to me than they do to my wife, for instance.
Sure.
In just different
Yeah.
ways, just because of who they are as well.
Yeah, and they'll react differently to you on one day when you're feeling a certain way, and
Yeah.
differently when you're feling
Crappy.
different.
Yeah. If I'm crappy or I'm mean or not
Yeah.
doing a grumpy
if
day,
you had a
they're like,
yeah.
if I'm a grumpy day, they don't want to be near me, right? Because they know this is not going to be good. So, all right.
They get that energy right away.
Yeah, and unlike my team, they can run farther. So it's like
they're maybe a little faster.
Yeah, well, they're in a field and not trapped in an office. So, what attracted you to that? I mean, I certainly the feeling, helping people, and so forth. But how did you figure out the modality of being able to use that for leadership training?
My brother was a wildlife biologist, and he's 18 years older than me. So I was kind of raised by myself with a mother who didn't want me around. So I did a lot of reading.
Here's that T coming back.
That's
again,
the T.
right?
Yeah, that's the T. And so I was by myself, and my brother would send home Ranger Rick magazine,
Oh,
actually,
sure.
is what it was,
Oh,
right?
my gosh.
Like nature magazines for kids. And so as a little girl, I was just delving into this. I was spending all this time in nature, looking at animals and trying to figure out how do they communicate. When I got old enough to read about it, started studying it. So I can literally say I was studying animals and communication in that realm of nature from the age of like 3.5 to 4 and reading about it. I was reading books out loud to people when I was 4. And so I've been looking at this. And so the idea of being able to kind of redefine what intelligence means, because we look at dogs and go, oh, they're smart because we compare their intelligence to ours.
Yeah.
The thing is, in nature, there's intelligence in so many different levels. There's communication that we can't even hear that goes on with
I
the
know dogs
elephants
are
and the
smarter
whales.
than
And
many humans, and vice versa.
They
Right?
play us. You ever had a dog that played you? They play us sometimes.
Cats play everybody. Let's just put it that way.
do.
So
They
let me
do,
ask you a
they do.
question. You bring these horses in. You're
Yeah.
you're doing them. Let's say we're in a corral,
Yeah.
or open, or in a field, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you get to go on a ride? Are we riding these horses?
No, that's the thing. There is a modality, because what I'm certified in is actually a therapy modality, and I use it for coaching and leadership and learning. So, but the fact is, there is an aspect of that therapy where riding does take place. I have not incorporated that yet. A couple of the co-facilitators that I work with do that, and in a different location.
That's a different thing.
It's a different thing, and it's usually when you're dealing with trauma, it's an amazing thing, and it's a little more one-on-one. Yeah. So I don't, and for this reason, I don't incorporate riding for this reason. When I tell people we don't ride, a lot of people look at me and go, "Well, if you don't ride, what do you do with them?"
Right.
And I'm like, "And that's your first reframe."
Yeah.
That's the first time that we're going to switch some things around.
Switch
for
around.
people.
I mean, so as leaders, we're constantly leading people, and we can do it in a number of ways. We can do it with brute force.
Yes.
I can take a rod, a stick. I can take reins or a rope, and I can pull them along. I can prod them. I can do a lot of different things.
Yep.
Spurs. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's something else.
Yeah.
You don't want to do. Okay, and then, but and there are people that do use those things.
Yeah.
But now it's really truly about how to intuitively connect with a horse, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, lead them or get them to do what you want to do, but without touching them or pulling them or riding them, right?
You can touch them. We're all about touch. In fact, that brings up a whole lot of stuff in its own, for individuals. But what you said there, when you can lead with force.
Right.
The first thing that happens when you hop on a horse's back is you assume a dominant, submissive relationship.
Yeah.
Whether you're using the spurs or not.
Yeah.
You're hopping on their back like a mountain lion, like a predator would. They see us as predators. Our eyes are in the front, their eyes are on the side. I mean, they're just giant
And most
rabbits.
people don't know. They want to run. When I go to get my horses out in the pasture and I haven't seen them for months, which is the case, the first thing they want to do, they see me, run.
Yeah.
And I have to kind of work them and
Remind them.
and remind them. Who's boss, so to speak, and that I'm here to do something, and they've got a job too, and we need to do this together. So you can do it the hard way, or you can do it the easy way, right?
We look for partnership.
Yeah.
So when we're working with the horses, it's about getting, and I think it's super great for people that ride. I mean, it's amazing to me. I think it's a lot safer to be able to have a horse that says, okay, as opposed to, forcing them into submission. I think it's a lot easier for people to get on a horse that says, okay, I'm ready for you to get on now, because they understand the relationship that you have. And so when we talk about leading without any lead rope or anything like that, it's there's a term out there that people know from the natural horsemanship world called joining up, right? Where a horse will finally follow you as a leader, and people go, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Almost like the movie Avatar, where you have to link in with that horse flying, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Same
it's
thing.
very much like that. But that's just the beginning. See, what people don't understand is even in the horsemanship world, that's just the beginning. So there's so much more than that. But sometimes something as simple as asking someone to pick up a horse's hoof brings up a lot of stuff for the person. And it can be a huge indicator of how the horse is feeling about that person, because people think like you and I, right? We just think, go pick up the horse's hoof, no big deal.
Unless he doesn't want it up.
And the reason they might not want it up, and people don't know this unless they're really, I mean, I didn't know, and I had a horse for several years before I really put this into perspective. Right? It's about taking different perspective. The only escape, the only defense that horse has, as you said, is to run.
Right.
So giving the foot is a big deal.
Yeah. Big trust factor.
That's a big trust factor. And if you are not feeling like you are able to do it, they're going to go, yep, you're right.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. You're right. And that is a direct metaphor a lot of times for the stuff that's showing up for that human being in their relationships in their life.
So let's talk a little bit about how do you uncover traditional leadership but using horses?
Yeah, it's, what's amazing is we'll have people come in that maybe bring their team. Let's use that. Like they'll help us say, I really want to work on some team cohesion. We have a new team. Yeah. There's a lot of restructuring going on. There's a lot of things that are happening in sometimes chaotic world right now, right? And so people are changing the way things are being done. And they said, we've got a new team. And so I'll have people that sometimes will come from all over the world. And they only know each other from Zoom calls. And they all have to work together and understand that they're all serving one.
So bringing in the herd, right?
We bring them into the herd.
This is like all this kind of symbolism is just like being a part of a team, right?
Absolutely.
And having worked with horses, I know the effectiveness of that. And sometimes you bring different herds together. They don't get along. There's a pecking order. They got to figure stuff out.
They got to figure it out.
I don't even touch them, and they got to figure those things out. Yep. Sometimes you can't get the horse to go into a trailer. It's not a natural act for a horse.
Right.
So you've got to convince them. And by the way, you can push, shove, do whatever you want. If that horse doesn't want to go in that trailer, it ain't going in,
day.
right?
It's gonna be a long
Just
day.
like if an employee or team member doesn't want to do things.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit.
Yeah.
You and I are going to be doing a program. We're calling it Trailblazers. It's about blazing trails in leadership, and we're
Yes.
going to use horses. We're
Yeah.
going to be at a luxury ranch.
Oh, it's so nice.
It's so cool.
It's so
Talk a
nice.
little bit about what
Yeah.
we're doing there, because it's just going to be fun.
We're going to be in Utah. It is going to be gorgeous. The mountains are surrounding us. It's going to be just fantastic. So it's a great sense of being able to rest, relax, retreat.
Yeah.
And when I say retreat, I'm not talking about retreating in fear. I'm talking about retreating so you can treat your body to a little rest and get clarity of mind. Because what I hear so much from a lot of the people that come, that are the C-suite folks that come and do the workshops with me, is it is a constant go, 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 go. But you almost get you do. Biologically, you can get addicted to the chase of the day, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you sit back and you go, wow, where did that go? What just happened? Did I make the right decisions? I don't know. Where am I going tomorrow? I'll think about it tomorrow. You're so exhausted, you fall asleep, you wake up the next day, you go, go, go. So this is an opportunity, I think, for people to sit back and really think about clearly, what are their strengths? How are they showing up? What are the blind spots? That's a big part of working with the horses shows you. What are the blind spots? I had a woman that brought in a team, actually, and it's a level playing ground, when we're working with the horses. Everybody, the herd treats everybody the same. They don't care that you're the CEO. They don't care that you're the organizer. They don't care if you're president of the United States.
Right.
They just want to know, who are you right now in this moment? Are you safe? How you're showing up?
And should I join with you? Should I
Yes.
help you? Should I work with you, or should I run away?
Yeah.
Right?
Are you safe? Is all they really want.
So you're going to come in. We're going to come in for a couple days. We're
Yes.
going to have
Yeah.
food that's unbelievable.
Yes.
Got bar, wine. We even got massages,
Everything is there.
ATVs if you want to relax.
Yeah.
Go do some fishing down at the pond.
That's right.
All of this is going on.
Yes.
And it's just for a couple of days. And what are
Yes.
you going to be able to take back to your team? Or you could bring your team.
You can
bring your
bring your team.
family.
You
We're not.
can.
And by the way, I'm so excited. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
But we're not just doing it once. We're doing it a number of times throughout the year.
Yes.
So if you can't make one, and if you want to do once, you can come back, which we see a lot of people do.
I think it's fantastic to do something like this about every 6 months.
Yeah. So what are you going to bring back? So I'm going to go. I'm a CEO. I'm a leader of a company, and I want to do better. And I'm going to learn from horses. What am I going to take back?
I'll tell you, the first thing you're going to discover is whether or not your own idea of self-care is working for you. And that's not a light thing. I mean, that's a pretty serious thing, because that will allow you, and part of what we practice when we're there is how to tap into the moment. Yeah. Because if you consider the energy bucket that you have when you wake up in the morning, right? Most of us will spend 80% of that energy in the past thinking about stuff and how it was run, or in the future, making a list of the things that we need to do.
But not about right there, right then.
Right here is
kind of like when you're on
this is where
that
we
Zoom
create.
call and you're doing email while you're
I
doing it,
know.
right?
It's so
You can't do
tempting.
that. You're not going to be able to do it here.
It's so tempting.
Yeah.
No, it's all about, we're going to learn what it is like to be in the present moment. And we're going to just remember, we all know how to do it. We did it as kids.
Yeah.
That's remember, that childlike wonder. We're going to bring some of that back. And it may sound like this is all fluff and stuff, because I'll tell you something, Jeff, I have a confession. When I first started learning about this stuff, I thought, oh, I can't do this. I mean, I'd already started speaking, I was speaking at corporate events and things, and I'm like, I can't, I can't go talk. This is just going to be very woo. It's going to be like, nobody's going to take this seriously, this horse stuff. And then I started experiencing it myself. I started seeing what it was doing for people. And now that I've seen so many people come through this type of program and seeing what light bulbs go on, what they walk away with, like going back and going, wow, I did not give half the people in my past a chance to excel. Maybe you fired them. Maybe you didn't even give them, an opportunity at all that would have been right for them if you had seen something differently in them. And so we had that. I was about to say, we had a woman that was an organizer, came in, and I said something very simple. For us, Jeffrey, that have horses, very simple. Go brush your horses and get to know them.
Yeah.
She's
Or
standing.
trim your horses and get to know them.
That's
right?
a real way to get to know them. But she's standing there with her arms folded like this, with this angry look on her face, holding the brush in her hand and glaring at her horse.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? And we proceeded to work through what she perceived as the horse not being cooperative. And the thing is, he doesn't like to be touched. I'm not going to bother with this. Well, she had my horse that loves to be loved on, hugged, but you had to prove to him that you were serious.
Yeah.
And so I had her ask in a different way. She took it as a no and was ready to walk away. It's like, no, it's not no, it's why no? Why no? And then when she realized how he worked, he was amazing. She was the only one that was able to lead him around through all the obstacles without a single lead rope ever attached to him. He just followed her everywhere. So there's so many lessons that it almost feels, almost hate to use the word magic, but there is a feeling of that around it. And what you walk back into your corporate or community or family life with, though, is some real understanding of how to be present, how to be, possibly a little more compassionate in your leadership. That if somebody's struggling with something, it's okay to say, hey, you know what, let me show you how to ask for help. And that's what the herd does. That each animal in that herd has a role. A lot of people don't know that.
That's going to be great. So this is fantastic. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but this is going to be great. What a connection with a charisma coach and all the things we're going to do with equine leadership and connected with this boardroom cowboy. We're going to have a lot of fun. And it's been great to have you right here on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett on C-Suite Radio and C-Suite TV. At the end of every show, I like to talk about what I learned, and with the charisma coach, Sandra Dee Robinson, I learn a lot. First of all, I just love to talk to her because she gives me that energy. And we were talking about our Trailblazer Mastermind. You talk about energy. That's what she's showing me. You can pull energy from the herd, from your team. What you give is what you're going to give back. And that's what we learn if we pay attention and are in the moment. I practice a lot of business in Japan, and we always talked about being centered. Well, when I'm with my horses and when I'm with others who are centered and grounded, not just to the earth, but grounded with each other, so much more can occur. And that's what I learned right here on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett on C-Suite Radio and C-Suite TV.
Hi everybody, welcome to Bestseller TV. I'm Taryn Winterbrill. We're here with Steve Rizzo. He's the author of Motivate This, How to Start Each Day with an Unstoppable Attitude to Succeed Regardless of Your Circumstances. It's great to have you with us, Steve.
It's great to be here.
So first off, motivate this. To what does this refer, and why not motivate that?
The this is about the reader. How motivated are you on any given day? Because it's so easy to stay motivated when things are going the way that you want.
Sure.
You can just get up and say, well, this is going to be a great day. But what happens if you're confronted with a lot of challenges? You're really getting stressed out. Your business is starting to own you. Maybe you're having some personal problems at home, divorce, financial difficulties, health issues in the family. It's difficult not to take those problems to the workplace. And if you do, it's going to affect creativity and productivity.
Sure.
And I just got sick and tired of people saying, I just can't get motivated. And the thing is, you can. It's just that you don't know that you can.
Right.
And that's why I wrote the book. It has 7 strategies on how to start your day with an unstoppable attitude to succeed regardless of your circumstances. And it's amazing because the book is also the name of the new program I have when I speak to groups. And when I tell people what the key is to motivation, you can hear a pin drop.
Motivation, talk about a beast. This idea of staying motivated, remaining, sure, when things are going great, sure, it's easy to be motivated, but so many people, you got knocked down, and it's so much easier to focus on one bad thing than all the good stuff.
Then the snowball effect happens.
Of course.
Then you enter the negative zone, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So, what I want to know is, was this book written out of personal experience? Is that the genesis of Motivate This? Were you in a bad place where you had to, bring yourself back up?
Yeah, I started off as a stand-up comedian, and I did stand-up comedy, headlined every club and theater throughout the country for 20 some odd years. And my opening acts were Drew Carey and Rosie O'Donnell, Dennis Miller, and Chris Rock, and I can keep. They opened for me.
Wow.
Exactly. And as time was going on, I started noticing that these people started getting the big breaks. And why wasn't I? Why was an opportunity knocking on my door? And then I came to the harsh reality that opportunity was knocking the whole time. I was just afraid to open the door.
Interesting.
And I realized I had a fear of success and failure. I mean, talk about not being able to make up your mind. And I was determined. I know, really, I couldn't. But it was true. That's what happened. I'm going crazy trying to figure it out. So I was determined. I went on a self-help quest to better myself. And without exaggeration, I read almost every self-help book you could think of. I went to Tony Robbins seminars. Now, this took years.
Yeah.
And I started noticing this major shift started taking place within me. And my attitude and my belief system started changing, and my perspective of the world started changing, to the point where even my managers and my agents and my peers were saying, "Well, you're different. What's going on?"
Yeah.
What started happening then is that the way the universe works, the entertainment industry, the comedy industry was so very excited about me, but something shifted. I was no longer interested in them. And I decided to shift into the motivational field. And it was at a Tony Robbins seminar when I was sitting there, and I was thinking about it for a while, and every time I mentioned it to one of my comedy peers, like Drew Carey and I had a big argument about this. Why are you doing this? You know, you're so close to making it now, and now you're going to do this.
Right.
But they didn't get what was going on in my head. And at a Tony Robbins seminar, I remember looking at him, and I picked up a pen, not even aware that I was doing it, and I wrote, "You can do this." And then I put it down. And then he started talking again, and I picked up the pen again, and I wrote, "You should do this." I put the pen down, and then finally I picked it up and I said, "You are going to do this." And that was it.
And that was it.
That was it. Went into the motivational field. I had no idea how to do it, didn't know anybody, but I was determined to do it. The strategies that I used to turn my life around are the very strategies that are in this book, and they're common sense success strategies. And I've been doing this for years, speaking to groups about it, but I finally wrote a book, and the book I wrote before this was Get Your Shift Together, which is similar to it.
Together.
Shift.
Very
shift. It's shift.
Very clever.
And either common sense success strategies on how you can actually start your day with an unstoppable attitude to succeed. And the key is, regardless of your circumstances.
Knowing what you know now, having gone through all those years of reflection, and leading up to that aha moment, what are some of the strategies in the book that you wish you would have known then, that you could have applied, that you learned after the fact?
It's a great question, because the fact that I was a stand-up comedian, one of the strategies was right there the whole time. It's what I call to unleash the power of your humor being on a daily basis.
Unleash the power of your humor
being.
Okay.
And everyone has a humor being within them, everyone. Your humor being is of your higher self. It's the part of you that brings out the best in you when times are really tough. What your humor being can give you more than anything else is emotional stability. And that's what we need today when life is throwing crap at us, day in and day out like that. And the irony in this is that there I was a stand-up comedian, but I wasn't using my humor being as a tool. I was using humor as a shield to protect me from my fears, to hide my fears, to hide behind it, like somebody would do if they were addicted to drugs or alcohol, which was another thing that I was having a problem with, not drugs so much as just partying a lot. And when I started realizing that life was throwing me situations that where humor had a positive, if not miraculous, effect on people's lives. And I know that's a very powerful word to use, miraculous, but if you think about it, what is a miracle? Nothing but a shift in perception.
Right.
It's taking something that you once think is totally impossible to achieve, but with a shift in the way that you think and a shift in attitude, that impossibility suddenly becomes possible. And what humor does, if you use it properly, it nips negative thought patterns in the bud before emotional havoc sets in. And I show people how to start their day with this attitude as soon as they wake up, is by finding the laughter within you and around you. It's everywhere. Don't leave the house until you at least smile about something. Take that attitude with you throughout the day. And it's a funny program, as there are funny stuff in the book, and it's a common sense success strategy.
Give us a little sense, Steve. How do you tap into that humor being? Because it sounds like it's really pivotal for you, and for someone who says, "Steve, I don't have a sense of humor."
Yeah, and you know
I have
what?
a being, just not a humor being.
And you don't have to have a sense of humor. And that's a great question too, because I'm not asking anyone to be the comedian to tell the joke. I'm just asking you to see the humor around you. You know, when 9/11 hit. As that was a tragic thing that happened, and I'm very aware with things, especially when I use them and implement it in a book or in a program, and that's why I'm always keying in on how did people survive this, how did they turn this around. And I never forget there was an interview in 9/11 asking these firemen these questions about how are they doing. Now, if you saw this particular clip, and I bet you everyone watching the TV at that time had tears in their eyes. I know I did. It was a very solemn moment, and the reporter goes up to one of the firemen who has bandages all over his head, and he's in a sling, and yet he's going back in there to try and save lives.
Right.
And the reporter is all emotional. She said, how are you able to get the courage to go back in there in your condition? And without missing a beat, the fireman steps up and he goes, hey lady, 2 things. I'm a fireman and I'm from New York. That's all you need to know.
Wow.
And everyone started laughing.
Powerful.
Now, I grant you, that is powerful. That laughter only lasted a couple of seconds, but here's the point. Sometimes a couple of seconds is all you need to catch your second wind.
Right.
See, that's all you need to get back in the saddle again, to do what needs to be done. And humor gives you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great anecdote, just as it really speaks volumes of sort of the power of that moment, the power of that message. There's an anecdote in the book I enjoy, you know, speaking of all these big name comics that you worked with, Steve. Woody Harrelson opens for you.
Woody Harrelson hosted my Showtime special.
Right.
And this was.
We should say you had a Showtime special.
Yeah.
Hello, that's pretty impressive. Congratulations.
Thanks. He was hosting the show, and this was back in the day when he was still doing Cheers, and he was still doing some movies. He started to become a pretty big star.
Yeah.
And this was a pinnacle in my career too, because this is when I realized I beat my fears. When he came back to the green room, and he said, hey, how do you want me to introduce you tomorrow night? Because we were doing a rehearsal. And I looked at him, and I didn't even think I was going to say this to him. I said, you know what, Woody? Tell them that you're going to bring up a guy that was voted least likely to succeed in his senior class from West Babylon High School. Now he's here with his own Showtime special in Atlantic City at the Sands Hotel.
Amazing.
And he just looked at me and he said, cool. And that's how he brought me up.
Was that a pivotal moment for you?
I mean, it was huge.
It was sort of an aha.
It
in
was
the book,
huge.
You talk about
it was huge.
It really,
it was
puts
one of
things
those
in
moments where,
perspective.
and because people are telling me, gee, you're different and you've changed, but when a dream that you have is right there and it's coming true,
right?
It's very emotional, first of all, And when I said it to him, he saw the emotion in my face when I said it, because the last couple of words came out like that, and I went, whoa. That was cool.
Whoa.
That was pretty cool.
Just out of curiosity, what was it like? Did you go to your high school reunion? This is the guy least likely to succeed, and look at you now.
I was a teacher before I did stand-up. I went back to the same school that I graduated from, where I was voted least likely to succeed.
And became a teacher there?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I visited the guidance counselor who told me I wasn't smart enough to go to college.
Wow.
And I did go to college. I
Right.
graduated with a 3.8 and 4 different degrees.
Incredible.
So,
there are a lot of people who don't get to go back and say, look what I did, despite what you were saying. And that's why your book is so important, because it's for those people who want to be able to say that.
Yeah. And it concerns me, which is why I made that shift from stand-up to what I do. I wouldn't change it for anything, because there are a lot of people hurting out there. There are a lot of people that don't know that they have the strategies to turn their lives around. And another strategy in this book is to understand the power of your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's not what happens to you, it's how you think about what happens that makes the difference. Because your thoughts have the incredible power to either minimize or maximize the effect that challenge has on you. And it's not your thoughts in and of themselves that gives them great power, it's what your thoughts create. And this is what happened to me. Your thoughts create the beliefs that you have. The beliefs that we all have about anything in our lives, be it religion, the economy, race, sex, place that you work, the people you work with, the beliefs that people are formulating about me in the few moments that they're watching me, those beliefs are formulated over a period of time through a consistent way of thinking. And if you're raised with a negative thought process, as I was, if you're saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, this isn't going to work, and you're told that you're not smart enough to go to college, and you're voted least likely to succeed, you might laugh about it then, but you take those labels into your adult life, those beliefs, and they mold the direction for every choice and action that you take.
All right, you carry it with you.
Yeah.
And whether you want to believe it or not, it's there, subconsciously,
absolutely.
perhaps consciously, perhaps
absolutely.
both.
And like this, that's why this book and the program is good for so many different groups. People say, what kind of groups do you speak for? And I say every kind of group, because these strategies are the foundation that I believe everyone has to build their careers on and their personal lives on. Because if you have a strong foundation, anything can go wrong, but you can always rebuild on a strong foundation.
And that's a good point. I mean, this book, it's in terms of target readers for personal capacity, professional capacity.
Absolutely.
What's a small nugget you can give us?
You have to become aware, and that's why I do what I do. Because you can't fix something unless you know something's wrong. It's impossible.
Right.
And there are people, unfortunately, that will go through their entire lives never realizing the capacity that they had, that their dreams are right there. You can have all of the talent in the world, which is what happened to me. Everyone kept saying, you're going to be the next guy in my comedy career. You're going to be the next one. You're going to be the next one. Everyone could believe it, but if you don't, you're not going anywhere.
So did you not believe it?
Yeah, no, I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about.
I had an attitude, thought I was cool, and everyone said, "How could you not believe in yourself? You were always so confident." But not when I was by myself. I wasn't.
What was the root of it? Do you think it was just your childhood? People telling
you
can't?
It's these labels, and plus being raised in a family where, as great as my mom and dad were, they passed on years ago, but they were from the old school, and everything is, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And they always saw the glasses. Sometimes they didn't even see the glass, half empty or half, they looked at it from a not such a healthy perspective. And one of the keys that really, really turned my life around was my brother Michael, who was 100% disabled from the Vietnam War. He's the only man in medical history that ever survived that wound.
Wow.
And it's important to say to you that, to make a very long story short, he was given up. They didn't think he was going to make it at all. He shouldn't be alive today.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we figured out what it was that helped him to survive. And those very tools that I used to turn my life around were the very tools that he used. And some of those tools are to make a conscious choice to enjoy yourself during the rebuilding process, to find the laughter in between and during the tough times, to, as I said, understand the power of your thoughts and how to push yourself to move forward.
Yeah, you talk about elevating, these shifts, these elevations of your degrees of happiness, but the book really has specific, it's a real great, step-by-step process.
Yeah.
Very, very user-friendly, very easy to understand, no matter, the type of motivation you need. Steve, I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what's the greatest motivation of all?
Being connected to a higher part of yourself, and that's not meant to be in a religious. Everybody has a higher part of themselves. You can call it God, you can call it the Force, you can call it the light, you can call it whatever you want. But this higher part of yourself is always telling you what's missing, and you always know what's missing by the attitude that you have about life. And if you can be aware of that and acknowledge that, the answers can really come forth in a very powerful way. One of the problems that I think a lot of people have in the workplace is that their jobs own them, especially high achievers, CEOs, C-suite people. They get so caught up in their jobs that jobs become who they are.
Right.
And by doing that, they neglect a very valued, if not sacred, part of themselves. And this part that they're neglecting could very well be the missing ingredients that make up the recipe of their lives.
Sure.
And it's just a matter, and I show people how to get motivated to that part of their lives, to step away from the hustle and bustle, because sometimes we get so caught up in trying to make a living, we forget what it's like to live.
Right, well, there's a live to work or work to live.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. So I show them in this book how crucial it is to get motivated in those other valued or sacred parts of yourself. You're not neglecting your job. If anything, you're recharging your motivational battery to get in tune with that stuff, so that when you do go back to work, you are so energized, and quite often insights to problems and solutions come to you a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I had to force myself to do this, but it works, and it's called my time. And everyone has their own time, their own things that they can do to break away, even just for moments at a time. The things that I consider to be beneficial for my time could be very boring to you and to everyone else, but to me, they're crucial for making up the recipe of my life.
Yeah.
And it hits you as you're getting older, and you get to a point.
I think perspective is a big part of it.
Oh my God, yeah, because you get to a point, and I know a lot of people who have tons of money, incredibly wealthy, own houses, and they're considered the best in their circle, but the bottom line is this, and I've seen it way too often. If you're not happy, you're not successful.
Right.
And if you're having a tough time enjoying yourself during the process of achieving your goals, you're ripping yourself off, and there's enough people out there willing to do that for you.
Yeah, and I think also what you said is really important, because you have people you get caught up in the hustle bustle, you get caught up in that shadow of success, and then you're afraid to motivate yourself to step out of that shadow and step outside of that comfort zone, which is why this is so important, even though you're successful. So many of these lessons can be applied.
Exactly, and it's one of the reasons why we get stressed out, because we know something's missing.
Right.
To some people, it's just a matter of taking those couple of moments that they used to take to meditate, or to watch a sunrise, to watch a sunset, or to take off in the afternoon, just go for a walk by yourself, or not to eat while you're on your break, or whatever it may be, or just to take the weekend off without bringing everything with you. And technology has done that to us. Because now it helps us, we can do more, but now that we have technology, we think more has to be done. Right. Because we have the capability of doing it. And we do these things to ourselves without realizing we're neglecting these sacred parts of ourselves.
All of that said, Steve, we're out of time. There's so much to get to, but the book it's incredible. What do you think is the biggest takeaway?
Let people know that the key to staying motivated is to make sure that you're feeling good during the process of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Because feeling good is the fuel that drives motivation. And it's your choice and your responsibility. And you have to know that you have what it takes within you to do some research to help yourself to find the things that will make you feel better. And it's usually your thought process. It's usually what you're thinking of, what you're focusing on. If you could shift your focus and your way of thinking to the things that are working in your life rather than fixating on what isn't working, and be grateful for what you have rather than cursing what you don't have, life becomes a lot easier. And what you're doing there is that you're creating a healthier habit.
You think?
Absolutely.
So you're saying focus on the journey.
Focus
the journey.
on
so many people focus on the destination. It's the journey.
It's the biggest sin you could ever commit to yourself.
Right.
The journey is where your life unfolds.
Right.
It's where that's where this is where you become the person that you are.
Right.
And most people say to themselves, I'll be happy when. It's the biggest disease in the workplace. I'll be happy when I achieve the goal. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I get respect. I'll be happy when I get here.
Such an interesting, I'll be happy when. No, it's
exactly.
It's the route to when. So it's great. Steve, the book is terrific. We could go on and on and on. But this is based on all true stories, true life. And it's really interesting. And just the transition from becoming least likely to succeed to a stand-up comedy professional to a motivational speaker. It's a great story. So congratulations.
Thank you. And what I'd like to say, what I really like about the book is that it doesn't matter what business you're in, what occupation you have, what your description is. This book is for salespeople and business people of all kinds, and it'll just give you the tools to create different habits to give you a more successful, healthier life.
No doubt. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And if you'd like more information on the book, just go to our website. It's c-suitebookclub.com. That's c-suitebookclub.com. I'm Taryn Winterbrill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Bestseller TV.